First contact and underestimation. The vast command center of the Kralax flagship hummed with energy as Supreme Overlord Zex Terrell studied the holographic display of the blue-green planet rotating slowly before him. His scaled skin shimmered under the ambient lights as all 6 of his eyes narrowed in contemplation. This is the planet the scout ships discovered. This, Earth, he rumbled, his translator device converting his native clicking language into something the rest of his multi-species crew could understand. Science Director Mavera slithered forward, her serpentine body coiling slightly as she manipulated the holographic controls to zoom in on the planet's surface. Yes, Overlord. 3rd planet from an unremarkable yellow star, populated by a species that calls themselves humans. Carbon-based bipeds with remarkably short lifespans. War Commander Droth snorted, the ridge of spines along his back rising in amusement. Look at their primitive technology. They've barely managed to reach their own moon. Their major energy source is still burning fossil fuels. Pathetic. The gathered officers of the Kralax Empire, conquerors of 17 star systems and over 30 sentient species, laughed, a cacophony of clicks, hisses, and rumbles filling the command center. Only Intelligence Officer Thela remained silent, her translucent skin pulsing with shifting patterns of light, a sign of deep thought among her kind. When she finally spoke, her melodic voice cut through the laughter. We should not be so quick to dismiss them, Overlord. The room fell silent as all eyes turned to her. Zex Terrell's upper limbs twitched in irritation. Explain. Thela activated her own data display. Our long-range scans show something unusual about these humans. They've survived and thrived in environments ranging from Arctic tundra to scorching deserts. Their recorded history is filled with constant warfare against nature and each other. They adapt quickly. Adaptation requires time, Droth countered dismissively. Our ships can reduce their major cities to ash within hours. Perhaps, Thela conceded. But there's more. Analysis of their communication networks reveals something interesting. They have extensive fictional narratives about defending their world against technologically superior invaders. And winning. Droth's spines rattled in amusement. Fiction is not reality. But it reveals psychology, Thela persisted. These humans imagine victory against impossible odds. They anticipate threats like us. They prepare for them in their minds. Commander Vorik, who had been quietly observing from the shadows, finally stepped forward. Unlike most Kralax officers, Vorik had spent time in the field, commanding actual invasions rather than merely planning them from the comfort of the flagship. I've seen primitive species fight before, Vorik said, his voice gravelly and low. They can be surprising. I recommend caution. Zex Terrell's patience was wearing thin. Caution wastes time, and time allows potential resistance to organize. We are the Kralax Empire. We do not show caution against primitives. Then perhaps a compromise, Thela suggested. Send a small exploratory force first. Capture some specimens. Study them directly before committing our full fleet. Zex Terrell considered this for a moment, then nodded. Very well. Commander Vorik, you will lead this expedition. Take 3 scout ships. I want human specimens from different regions of their planet within 2 cycles. Vorik bowed his head. It will be done, Overlord. As the council dispersed, Thela approached Vorik privately. Be careful, Commander. There's something about these humans that concerns me. Your concern is noted, Vorik replied coolly. But they're primitives. What could they possibly do against our technology? 3 days later, Lieutenant Sarah Chen of the United States Space Force was monitoring routine satellite communications when her systems detected something unusual entering Earth's atmosphere. The objects, 3 of them, were moving too fast and with too much precision to be meteors. Command, this is Outpost Sierra. We have multiple unidentified objects on approach vector. Definitely not natural phenomena. Request instructions. Before Command could respond, her screens went blank, and the entire facility plunged into darkness. Emergency lights kicked on moments later, bathing the monitoring station in an eerie red glow. Command. Command. Do you copy? Her radio emitted nothing but static. Sarah reached for her sidearm, just as the ceiling above her tore open with a screech of metal. The last thing she saw before losing consciousness was a silvery mist descending from what appeared to be the underside of a craft, unlike anything human engineering had ever produced. When Sarah awoke, she found herself in a transparent chamber. Beyond the walls of her prison, strange creatures moved about, their bodies unlike anything she had ever seen outside of science fiction films. The largest ones appeared reptilian but walked upright on two powerful legs. Others were serpentine or insectoid. A reptilian figure approached her chamber, studying her with cold, calculating eyes. "The specimen is conscious," it said, its voice translated into flawless English. Sarah pushed herself to her feet, ignoring the pounding in her head. "Who are you? What do you want with Earth?" The creature seemed surprised that she could understand him. "Your translator device is functioning well," she said, nodding toward a small metallic object attached to the creature's throat. The alien's eyes narrowed. "You are observant for a primitive. And you're predictable for an advanced species," Sarah shot back. "Abduction. Really? That's the best first contact protocol you could come up with." Another alien approached, this one with translucent skin that pulsed with patterns of light. "I am Intelligence Officer Thela of the Kralax Empire. You are Lieutenant Sarah Chen of Earth's Space Force. We have questions for you." Sarah crossed her arms. "I have some for you too. Starting with why you think invading Earth is a good idea." The reptilian alien, who Sarah would later learn was Commander Vorik, leaned closer to the transparent wall. "Your planet has resources we require. Your species is primitive. The calculation is simple." Sarah laughed, the sound apparently startling the aliens. "Primitive, maybe by your standards, but you should know something about humans, Commander." "And what is that?" Vorik asked, clearly humoring her. Sarah's expression turned serious. "We don't take kindly to bullies, no matter how technologically advanced they are, and we're very, very good at adapting." "Empty threats from a caged specimen," Vorik dismissed. "Not threats. Warnings," Sarah corrected. "And as for being caged," she nodded toward a small device implanted in her wrist. "Did your scans pick up my subcutaneous transmitter? The one broadcasting our exact location to Earth's defense systems right now." Alarm flashed across Thela's luminescent skin as she rushed to a nearby console. "Commander, she's right. There's a quantum-entangled signal emanating from her body. Our sensors couldn't detect it because it doesn't use conventional transmission methods." Vorik's spines raised in alarm. "Impossible. Their technology isn't." A violent shudder ran through the ship, cutting off his words. Warning alarms began blaring throughout the vessel. "Status report," Vorik demanded. A panicked voice responded over the ship's communication system. "Earth vessels approaching. They've deployed some kind of gravitational weapon. It's tearing through our shields." Gravitational weapons. Thela's skin pulsed rapidly in confusion. "They shouldn't have." "Let me guess," Sarah interrupted with a grim smile. "We shouldn't have that technology yet. You might be surprised what humans can accomplish when motivated, especially since we recovered that scout ship that crashed in Arizona 50 years ago." The blood drained from Vorik's scaled face. "You've been studying our technology." Another violent shudder rocked the ship, stronger this time. The transparent wall of Sarah's containment cell flickered and died. She stepped out, rolling her shoulders. "For decades, we've been expecting visitors, preparing for them. Your arrival just accelerated our timeline." The ship's lights flickered as another impact struck. Sarah could hear weapons fire and shouting coming from elsewhere in the vessel. "Those would be my colleagues," she explained calmly. "Our special forces have been training for this scenario for years." Vorik backed away, reaching for his weapon. One primitive planet cannot stand against the Kralax Empire. Sarah's expression hardened. Then it's a good thing we're not primitive, isn't it? Before Vorik could fire, the chamber door burst open. A squad of Earth's newly formed extraterrestrial defense force stormed in, weapons raised. Lieutenant Chen, the squad leader, nodded. General Hayes sends his regards and says your intel was spot on. Sarah nodded, then turned back to the stunned aliens. Commander Vorik, Intelligence Officer Thela, I believe we need to discuss the terms of your surrender. As Earth forces secured the alien vessel, messages were already being sent to the Kralax flagship. The message was simple. Earth was not the easy conquest they had anticipated. The humans had not only been expecting visitors from the stars, they had been preparing for them. The tiny army the Kralax had so casually dismissed was proving to be anything but weak, and this was only the beginning. The human response. General Marcus Hayes stood before the United Nations Security Council, his weathered face grim as satellite footage played on the screens behind him. The footage showed the 3 captured Kralax scout ships, now secured at military installations around the globe. Ladies and gentlemen, Hayes began, thanks to Lieutenant Chen's successful infiltration and the quick response of our EDF units, we've secured valuable intelligence about our adversaries. The Kralax Empire, as they call themselves, has conquered 17 star systems and subjugated over 30 sentient species. Murmurs of concern rippled through the assembly. They view us as primitive, easily conquered prey. Hayes continued. Their main fleet remains at the edge of our solar system, but make no mistake, they will come. And when they do, they'll expect an easy victory. The Chinese representative raised a hand. What are our chances against such a technologically advanced enemy? Hayes allowed himself a small smile. Better than they think. For 50 years, since we recovered that crashed scout ship in Arizona, we've been quietly preparing. The quantum entanglement communication system that allowed us to track Lieutenant Chen is just the beginning. He nodded to Dr. Eleanor Park, who stood and approached the podium. The brilliant physicist had been leading the reverse engineering efforts for the past decade. The gravitational weapons we deployed against the scout ships were adapted from technology we discovered in their propulsion systems, Dr. Park explained. We've also developed shield systems based on their designs, though ours are still less advanced. Most importantly, we now have 3 intact vessels to study. How long until the main fleet arrives? The Russian representative asked. Hayes's expression darkened. Our best estimate, 3 weeks. The room fell silent. That's not enough time to prepare, someone finally said. It will have to be, Hayes replied firmly. But we have advantages they don't expect. First, we're fighting for our home. Second, they've severely underestimated us. And third, he paused, looking around the room. Humans have always been at our best when facing impossible odds. In the days that followed, Earth underwent a transformation unlike anything in history. Ancient rivalries were set aside as nations united against the common threat. Military forces merged into a global defense initiative. Scientists worked around the clock, adapting alien technology to human use. Meanwhile, in orbit around Jupiter, Supreme Overlord Zex Terrell raged at the loss of his scout ships. How? He demanded, his massive form trembling with fury as he loomed over his war council. How did primitives defeat our advanced scout ships? Thela, who had been recovered during a prisoner exchange, a concept the Kralax found bewildering, stood before him, her skin pulsing with complex patterns. They were prepared for us, Overlord. They'd been studying our technology since one of our vessels crashed on their planet decades ago. Impossible, Droth snarled. Our records show no lost scout ships in this sector. The records were altered, Thela admitted. The previous intelligence director didn't want to admit the failure. Zex Terrell's eyes narrowed dangerously. And what else don't we know about these humans? They are unusual, Thela said carefully. During my captivity, I learned much about them. They fight differently than any species we've encountered. They don't follow predictable patterns. Their military history is filled with examples of smaller forces defeating larger ones through what they call asymmetric warfare. Tactics cannot overcome our technological advantage, Droth insisted. Perhaps, Thela conceded. But there's something else you should know. They've united their entire planet against us. Every nation, every military force, working as one. Zex Terrell dismissed this with a wave. It changes nothing. Prepare the fleet for full invasion. We will crush this resistance in one decisive strike. 2 weeks later, the Kralax invasion fleet entered Earth's orbit, 100 warships strong, each capable of devastating an entire city. As they positioned themselves for the initial assault, Zex Terrell addressed his commanders. Begin with their military installations, then their governance centers. Once their leadership is eliminated, the rest will surrender. But as the first warships descended toward Earth's atmosphere, something unexpected happened. Dozens of small, stealth satellites, previously undetected by Kralax sensors, activated simultaneously. Focused gravitational pulses disrupted the Kralax ship's propulsion systems, causing several to spiral out of control. What is happening? Zex Terrell demanded. They've deployed some kind of orbital defense network, a technician reported, confusion evident in his voice. Our sensors didn't detect them because they were powered down until now. Before the Kralax could adjust, Earth's surface-based defenses opened fire. Gravitational weapons based on Kralax technology, but modified in ways their creators hadn't imagined, tore through the invaders' shields. Impossible, Droth exclaimed. They've improved upon our own technology. All ships, defensive formation. Zex Terrell ordered. Launch fighters. Thousands of Kralax fighter craft poured from the larger vessels, descending toward Earth's atmosphere. They expected minimal resistance from Earth's primitive aircraft. What they encountered instead were squadrons of hybrid fighters, human aircraft enhanced with elements of Kralax technology. While not as advanced as the alien craft, they were piloted by humans who had spent their careers mastering aerial combat in Earth's diverse and challenging atmospheric conditions. On the flagship's command deck, Zex Terrell watched in mounting horror as the tactical display showed Kralax fighters being destroyed at an alarming rate. How are they doing this? He demanded of no one in particular. Thela, who had been quietly observing, finally spoke. They're using our technology against us, but they're fighting like humans. Look at their formation patterns. Unpredictable, adaptive. They're fighting as individuals within a coordinated strategy. Indeed, while Kralax pilots followed strict battle protocols honed over centuries of warfare against technologically similar foes, the human pilots were improvising, changing tactics moment by moment, finding weaknesses in the Kralax formations and exploiting them mercilessly. Meanwhile, on Earth's surface, General Hayes directed the global defense from a hardened command center deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Status report, he demanded. Orbital defense network performing above expectations, sir, his tactical officer responded. 27 enemy capital ships disabled or destroyed. Their fighter squadrons are taking heavy losses. And our casualties. The officer's expression sobered. Significant, sir. We've lost 30% of our air forces and 2 major defense installations. Hayes nodded grimly. Such losses were expected against a technologically superior foe. What about Operation Trojan? A smile spread across the officer's face. Lieutenant Chen's team successfully deployed aboard the Kralax flagship during the initial confusion. They'd gone silent as planned, but the transponder signal indicates they're alive and moving through the vessel. Miles above them, Lieutenant Sarah Chen led her team of Special Forces operators through the labyrinthine corridors of the Kralax flagship. Each member of her team had been specifically selected and trained for this mission after the capture of the scout ships provided insight into Kralax vessel design. Engine room ahead, she whispered, checking the holographic map projected from a device on her wrist. Remember, we need to secure it intact. No explosives unless absolutely necessary. Her team nodded. Their mission wasn't to destroy the flagship, but to capture it, to secure the advanced technology and strategic intelligence that would give Earth a fighting chance against the full might of the Kralax Empire. As they approached the massive doors to the engine room, they encountered resistance, a squad of Kralax soldiers led by none other than War Commander Droth himself. "The humans are here," Droth roared, raising his weapon. "Eliminate them." What followed was a firefight, unlike any in human history. Earth's special forces against alien warriors in the heart of an extraterrestrial warship. Despite the Kralax's natural advantages, greater strength, enhanced reflexes, the humans fought with a ferocity that seemed to surprise them. When Sarah found herself face to face with Droth, the massive alien commander sneered down at her. "Your species is doomed, human. Even if you defeat this fleet, the Empire will send another, and another after that." Sarah didn't waste breath on a reply. Instead, she activated a device attached to her belt, a small, unassuming cylinder that General Hayes scientists had developed specifically for this moment. A pulse of focused electromagnetic energy, calibrated to the exact frequency of Kralax neural systems, erupted from the device. Droth collapsed, his nervous system temporarily overloaded. "Target secured," Sarah reported into her comm unit. "Engine room is ours." With control of the flagship's propulsion and weapons systems, the tide of the battle shifted dramatically. Earth forces used the captured vessel to sow confusion among the Kralax fleet, disrupting their formations and communications. On the flagship's command deck, Supreme Overlord Zex Terrell received the news of Droth's capture and the engine room's fall with stunned disbelief. "How can this be happening?" he demanded. "They're primitives." Thilla, who had remained on the command deck throughout the battle, finally spoke the truth that had been becoming increasingly clear. "That Overlord was our fundamental mistake. We judged them by their technology, not by their nature. These humans, they're not like other species we've conquered. They don't fight like we do. They adapt. They improvise. They use our strength against us." As if to punctuate her point, the flagship's own weapons suddenly opened fire on the surrounding Kralax vessels, now controlled by Lieutenant Chen's team. Zex Terrell slumped in his command chair as the tactical display showed his once mighty invasion fleet in disarray. Some ships destroyed, others retreating, still others being boarded by human forces. "It's over," Thilla said quietly. "We've lost this battle." Hours later, in what would later be recorded as one of the most significant moments in human history, Supreme Overlord Zex Terrell stood before General Hayes in the flagship's command center, now under human control. "The Kralax Empire does not surrender," Zex Terrell stated, his voice filled with restrained fury. "I'm not asking for your surrender," Hayes replied calmly. "I'm offering terms for your withdrawal. You will leave our solar system. You will acknowledge Earth as a sovereign, protected world. And you will spread the word to others who might consider us easy prey." "And why would I agree to such terms?" Zex Terrell demanded. Hayes gestured to a display screen showing the captured Kralax technology already being adapted and improved upon by human scientists. "Because if you don't, the next time we meet, it won't be in Earth's orbit. It will be in yours." Zex Terrell stared at the human general, seeing for the first time what Thilla had tried to warn him about: the steel behind the seemingly fragile exterior, the relentless determination that had allowed these primitives to defeat his advanced fleet. "You've made a formidable enemy today," Zex Terrell finally said. Hayes smiled grimly. "No. We've shown you what happens when you underestimate humanity. What happens next is up to you." As the remaining Kralax vessels retreated from Earth's solar system, humanity began the process of rebuilding and preparing. They knew the Kralax might return, or other alien species might come, but Earth would be ready. The aliens had laughed at Earth's tiny army, until they realized it had human soldiers, and humanity, as countless foes throughout its own history had learned, should never be underestimated. In the decades that followed, Earth would use the captured Kralax technology to advance their own civilization by centuries, eventually taking their place among the stars not as conquered subjects, but as equals, or perhaps something even more remarkable. The species that defeated the undefeatable Kralax Empire. And throughout the galaxy, word spread of the small blue planet with the deceptively fragile-looking inhabitants who had accomplished what no other species had managed. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and the universe would never be the same.